ACE, Anti-Human Trafficking Alliance of Oxford, would like to welcome Albert of Neuchetel Chocolate to talk this morning about who picked your bunny, so that we can learn how to purchase chocolate that has not been picked by a slave, especially a child slave. Thank you, Albert.
Thank you. It looks like I'm the oldest guy in the hall again, sorry. That's how it goes. I've been in the chocolate business pretty much all my life. My parents were in it, and before that we were more bakers because chocolate wasn't really there. And so my principal supplier when I first started was a chocolate factory in Geneva, because that's where I went to school. When the gentleman had Alzheimer's and had to sell the company, he sold it to foreigners and they weren't very friendly, so we moved up to my father's old relationships, which is Chocolatier Bernrhein in Switzerland. Chocolatier Bernrhein is a family-owned company still today. It's my pleasure to say that it's a woman-owned company because Monika Müller took over the company from her father. And Monika is very young, about 50 I think. And but she took over the company when the father passed on. Some people in the organization didn't like it, and we had a few men that quit. But you know, you're gonna have that. Monica's doing a good job because she herself, she really believes in the fair trade and in the organic market. When I told Monika a few years back that the vegan is getting big here, they just created 3 new vegan bars, and still organic and fair trade. She, and now get back to, so basically I bring in big blocks of chocolate from Switzerland, and then I melt it down and I make the chocolate, the candy and the rabbits out of it. All our chocolate is, like I said, fair trade. I have beneath these posters, I have a few of the certifications we have. So we got this fair trade. Those are like a lot of European, and of course the USDA organic. So we do have the certifications officially. And we actually visit the farms. We know who is picking it, and the Fair Trade Organization is there to certify all that. Myself, I do some cocoa processing too, not for the local market, but I buy beans from the Philippines. I turn them into chocolate. And also there, I know the farmers. I have some people in the Philippines that I paid for them to go to school. They work for me for things like that. They will go to the farms, and as a matter of fact, I just got a shipment in. They go to the farms and they make sure where the beans are coming from. That's for my personal use, and because I do not have the $5,000 to certify my own beans, I make sure that myself, I know everything is clear. As a company, the master company, Bernrhein Stella, we are, like I said, we're visiting the farms ourselves too. We do not buy any cocoa beans from countries where there is a risk. We are a little bit, you know, Africa is the bad guy pretty much. It's the cheapest beans, and those beans we don't even use anymore. We use a lot of. We even use beans from India. We use beans mostly from South America. We did a Tanzania once because I was supposed to do something in Tanzania, and we met this Swiss guy. I don't know why, but we met this Swiss guy who was kind of having a cooperative. All the little farmers from around his region where he was were bringing the chocolate to the cooperative, and he was getting a better price because he was directly dealing with the chocolate companies, and he was taking care of all those villages. It was really nice. So we had purchased a container once and made a chocolate bar with Tanzania only, Tanzania beans. And of course Tanzania is still Africa, but it's a very peaceful country, if you can say that. I can walk the streets, I don't have a problem. And the people are really friendly. We can't necessarily say that from Kenya. Ghana is one of those countries where we encountered problems, and like I said, for the past 10 years we haven't even dealt with those beans anymore at all. So South America, where we know where it's coming from, is our major source, and then we do specialty beans and special batches. We make all kind of chocolates. So for example, we have the chocolate with the baobab fruit. It's a new antioxidant, which is very good. It's like kind of lemony. We have a bar that we do with the pomegranate, because of there it's healthy, and of course it's dark chocolate. We got lucky that the dark chocolate now is healthy. So I always tell people that say I prefer milk chocolate, that's okay. We just need to eat twice as much to get the same antioxidant. So typically milk chocolate has 36% cocoa in it, and a dark chocolate we go up to 80. And because we select the beans carefully, the 80% chocolate actually appears sweeter than the 75 we have. So the 75% chocolate we have is beans from Peru. And beans from Peru, they're kind of acid. So when you taste it in your mouth, this is bitter. But then the other beans that we select for the 80%, they don't have that acidity, so it appears that it's sweeter. Some people like, for baking, for example, there's nothing like a good bitter chocolate. And we also make hot chocolate, but we do it different than other people. Normally what you do is you press some of the cocoa beans. Well, it's actually, I'll start on the wrong end. First of all, when we get the cocoa beans, we have to roast them. So we have big roasters and they get roasted. Then they go to a machine that are called winnower. The winnower is basically peeling the skin off the cocoa bean. Now, one of my favorite things is to crack a cocoa bean that's just freshly roasted open and eat it. That's as pure as you can get. So then after that is done, the product is called nibs, and the cocoa nibs are then ground with big roller grinders, and they get ground up until it's a paste. At that point, we add some sugar to it. For milk chocolate, we're going to add some milk powder. We're going to add the milk powder already, and then it goes in what we call a conch. A conch is a machine that has big rollers that roll the chocolate in the vat back and forth. A cheap chocolate, they have a direct method now that just goes through a screw and it's done. But we still insist on the old-fashioned way because we believe that the chocolate is better. The conching does two things. It refines the chocolate to about 16 microns. A good chocolate is very fine. A cheaper chocolate tastes like sand. And I remember as a child, from the same company, my father used to carry the bars. And we had the cheap chocolate, which was, for us kids, that was great, that's good enough. But today we know it's just not very finely ground. So the step in conching is now that it, like I said, does two things. First of all, it will remove all the off flavors and it will make it fine. A good chocolate is ground for 72 hours. All our dark chocolates are at least conched for 60 hours. The very high ones, 72, still today. And the milk chocolate is a little bit less. It's usually 35 to 40 because of it has something to do with the milk, the cocoa, the milk content. The milk fat will turn weird if you conch it too long. And the people that cheat, you know that right away when you eat chocolate. A milk chocolate that was conched and made properly, the flavor will remain in your mouth. And you taste the caramelly taste of the milk. A cheap milk chocolate, it's boom, gone. It's kind of comparable to a caramel. If you buy a cheap caramel, just a plain caramel, not even chocolate on it, that is just so commercially made, they have to add other fats. Your caramel flavor is okay as long as you chew the caramel. Once you're done, boom, it's gone. A good caramel, you have the lingering taste of the milk that is in your mouth. That's how you know. And talking about slaves, coming back to that, some of the countries are under pressure because the big chocolate companies, they demand a certain price. And people want to cheat, and they're like, okay, we're just going to hire anybody that we can get. And supposedly they do force people to work, some of them. And that, of course, creates a bad situation, which, like I said, we make sure to stay away from. How big the problem is, nobody really wants to admit. Nobody really says it. The whole story of human trafficking is such a bad situation. I know that, unrelated to the chocolate, a lot of bad things happen in the Middle East. We've been sending them a lot of money for oil, but they do not treat their laborers right. There's a lot of people from Africa that just disappear because they can do whatever they want to those people. Literally, the local people in the Middle East have a total impunity. They can do whatever they want. And that's just a fact of life. Personally, I do not understand how you can look in somebody's face when those people that travel to the Far East and they go to those places where they abuse the children. It is just beyond me, and I think that there is no punishment harsh enough for those kind of people. Unfortunately, it's still, the sex tourism is still alive, and unfortunately, it's beyond what we can imagine. And I think that partially because it's just socially right, we refuse, going back to the chocolate, we refuse to even consider beans from countries that are involved in that, or even possibly. The way I work with the mother company, Chocolatier, is I used to be just a customer, and now that all the old guys are retiring, we kind of run out of people, so I do shows for them and with them. I just did a show in California where it's the Expo West Organic Food Show, and we do shows in countries where usually nobody wants to go. The young guys have kids, they don't want to go. But it's the future market. We will go there and do the shows. And then sometimes we make field trips to the farms. My Spanish is a little bit weak, so I don't do much of South America, and if I do, I get a translator. But I do all the other countries that I can make myself understood. Just to show you the global impact that today's world has, I brought in my can. Those are chocolate-covered we do chocolate-covered potato chips, but those are chocolate-covered animal crackers. Now, the can was designed in the Philippines by one of my students that I sent to school, and then the artwork was sent to China, and the paper was printed in China. Same with China. I make products in China, yes, because this can here, there's nobody in the US that will make it. So you gotta go to Canada to make it, and the cost is just a point where I cannot sell this for $20. But January, I decided to make a quick appearance. I took a flight to Hong Kong, took a flight to China, and I walked into the factory because they were doing my products. And it was amazing to me. There was a man, suit and tie, at the table, and there was no children working there. They were all people that were, you knew they were older. Sometimes people say, you can't really tell how old they are, but those people were all over 30. But anyways, the man in suit and tie was sitting there putting the handles into shopping bags. And the gentleman that was showing me around, he said, by the way, this is our production manager. We are behind with this order, and so he has to help. He's helping finish the order. And I said to myself, I want to see the factory here where the production manager goes and helps. So I was pretty impressed. And the good thing was they did not know that I was coming. I took a taxi going there. I did not announce myself. So that was a pretty interesting experience. So that's, how the world is evolving. We cannot say that China is taking all our jobs. It's actually, I was amazed to see how it is there, how modern, how people do go around, they spend money, they don't work on weekends, they do work 6 days mostly. But I was amazed to see how that society is evolving too. And just to kind of as a funny thing, we made 3 children on the can because it's geared at children, of course. And we have a Asian child, we have a black child, and we have a white child. That wasn't my idea. That was this girl is, I think she's 18 years old now. She's going to design school. But I did like the design. So going back to the chocolate, my own business, like I said, we bring in the big slabs from Switzerland and then we turn it into chocolate. They did a good joke on me with the last shipment. They're supposed to give me a container of maximum 50 pounds. Well, somebody messed up and I got those 100-pound slabs. And I called up and I said, listen, you guys, what are you doing? I'm too old for this. I can't do this anymore. So they were, somebody made a mistake and put them in their own molds. So I had to go to buy a jackhammer with and make a stainless steel tip so that I can break it up. It's not easy getting old, believe me. And what we do, we have, of course, the Oxford store, and then we sell the chocolate throughout the country. There's little stores that carry our product. Still, our best seller are the chocolate-covered potato chips. It goes well together, I guess. And the way that product was born, we have coating machines, a machine where the chocolate fountain drops on the chocolate, and some of my employees always had those brilliant ideas. Whatever they could come across, they would run through there and then eat. And I said, no, this has to stop. We cannot just run things through. I need to know. So I catch them again, and I was like, who did this? So they said, nobody. That you have to try it. It's really good. So I tried it and I said, you know what, that is actually might be a seller. So we started making the chocolate-covered potato chips, and it's a good seller. We make, of course, with hers in town, we buy the chips from hers, and we sell the chocolate-covered potato chips back to hers. They sell them in their store. But that's how things happen. Sometimes we have to try something first. But me being Swiss, anything that contains peanuts, you're not going to do it. And coming to this country every time, hey, don't you have anything with peanuts? I said, no, we don't do that. So eventually we had to start because people just wanted it. And today we do make peanut butter truffles and peanut clusters. Food and Drug Administration has come down hard on it, so we had to purchase special molds that we only use for peanut butter, and so that we don't have any contamination. Another evolvement in the chocolate industry is soy. People, even though it's less than 0.2%, some chocolate contains soy lecithin. That has become a no-no, so we, for the past 5 years, we switched to sunflower lecithin. Also because sunflower lecithin is available organic those days. The sugar, if you eat our white chocolate, you will note little black specks in the chocolate. That is because of the brown sugar, unrefined sugar that we use in the organic chocolate. Our organic business, all our chocolate, by the way, from Switzerland, is fair trade. We do not do any other chocolate anymore. And so fair trade is a given. Organic, it has grown very much because it's just a trend. Not many farmers, however, do use fertilizer for their chocolate, for their cocoa beans. Because cocoa beans only grow inside the jungle. There has to be other trees around it. And you might know or have seen, if you're from Oxford, you might have seen my wife. She used to work at Rite Aid's, the little short woman, brown. So she has now retired because she just couldn't do it anymore. And she goes to the Philippines quite a bit. She goes home. And her father had given them some land. So her brother just planted a whole field of chocolate, cocoa beans. So cocoa beans, from the time you plant them until you have the first pod, it's about 5 years. That's how long it takes. And what she did, her brother planted banana trees. That's enough shade for the cocoa, and banana trees grow fast. But what you see here, the yellow part, that is the cocoa pod. That's what grows on the cocoa tree, and it just comes right out of the trunk. And then the white stuff you see here is what we call pulp. Now this is very good to eat. Before, the kids, they used to take the pods, eat the pulp, spit out the beans. But inside here is going to be the cocoa bean once you take the flesh away. And that part, once it's picked, it gets piled up in a pile. And the idea is you got to ferment that. And that is a process that has to be done properly. And that is one of the main reasons why we go to the cocoa plantations. If it's not fermented properly, the cocoa is not going to be good. So they have to, basically they take it apart like this, and this whole thing drops out, and then you got to stir this once a day. You move those things around. It takes about 5 or 6 days to ferment it properly. After the fermentation process is done, they get dried. Normally it's in the sun. They take them out in the sun. I know when I was young and we went to the chocolate factory with my parents, we used to see all those things. So the cocoa beans come to us still in those big bags. And they are, yes, 120 pounds. And we could see the stuff that came out of there, anything from sandals to rocks. So before, we really had to watch out and sort that stuff very properly, because they would just rake it together, because they used to dry it on mats. It's kind of like the rice. They in the Philippines, they still dry the rice on mats. That's why we always wash the rice before we make it. By the way, that is also like this with the tea. The tea from any country is normally dried on mats. So when we make tea, not from the bags of course, but from the tea leaves, we first pour the hot water over the leaves and then quickly shake it and take it out and then brew the tea, because we kind of wash the tea. And I also have started, because coffee and chocolate goes together, I started to bring in my own coffee. And I roast the coffee, and then, we sell it like that. It's kind of interesting to see the coffee. It's like, if you eat a cocoa bean that is raw, you get some kind of a taste. A coffee bean, you don't taste anything. So to make, and the process of roasting is quite different between coffee and cocoa. Cocoa has to be roasted at a very low heat because otherwise it's never going to taste right. To develop the flavor properly, the big factories, they just throw it in a drum, it gets roasted, done. Smaller factories, they roast at a lower temperature and you get the better, it's just simply a better chocolate. And the same with the coffee, you know, it's the degree of coffee and the roast. But I do want to tell you a funny story. Last time I was at the coffee farm, they had this coffee that was quite expensive and it was called civet. And I said, what is this? So I tried the coffee, it was really good coffee. And then I went to the farmer and I said, what's the difference? How come this coffee is so expensive? Oh, he says, that's civet. I said, yeah, what's civet? Mm-hmm. It's an animal. So what does the civet do? He picks the best of the best coffee bean, eats it. But the body of the civet does not digest the seed. So they have to go and pick this out and then wash it, of course, and roast it. So that's the explanation of the price. But it was too late, I already drank my coffee. And of course I brought the bag back and did it to everybody else I know. So that's how we have fun. I think that I'm pretty much done with my presentation. If you have questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
When you refer to sugar, are you referring to cane or are you referring to sugar beets?
Would you repeat the question because this won't pick it up?
The sugar that I refer to in our product is all cane. Even though Switzerland we produce only beet sugar, but we use cane sugar, yes. And the certification of fair trade also covers the sugar. It covers actually everything. Our chocolate is uniquely made with Swiss milk, Swiss cow milk. I have to say to that as well that the things they do in certain other countries to the cows, we are not allowed to do it. They're very strict. Talking about milk, we also have a special process to dry our milk. And this is one of the reasons when you eat a bar of somebody we know very well here, it tastes like sour milk. It's like acidy. That's because this gentleman, when he started making chocolate, did not know how to properly dry the milk, so it always turned sour on him. When he then learned how to do it, he said, we're not going to change it. People are used to it. So in Switzerland, what we do, there is two ways of drying the milk is with rollers. We concentrate the milk, it goes through the heated rollers, comes out that way. And then there is the spray drying process, which we have the hot air and the milk sprays out of the nozzles and clings against the wall, and then that gets scraped down. That's how we do the milk, because the flavor of the milk is the best that way. Protects the milk the best.
Do you use palm oil, because palm oil is decimating their orangutan populations around the equator?
No, well, real chocolate in Switzerland and in the US is not allowed to contain oil or any other fat other than cocoa oil. Cocoa oil. So we don't use any oils in our chocolate, it's pure chocolate. The Brits have their chocolate and they love it, that has other fats in it, but when it comes to oils, no use. And also palm oil is, well, that's my conspiracy theory maybe. The palm oil lobby made coconut oil look bad. Palm oil is actually, as long as I live, we were never fans of it because it's just not an oil too. It's not healthy for one thing.
You talk about importing milk. To clarify for us, how much a gallon does it cost you to import that milk into the United States?
We don't, because the chocolate, when it comes to me, it already has the milk in it. When it comes to importing milk powder, it's a very high tariff on it. We had issues with the white chocolate because white chocolate originally wasn't classified as chocolate here. So for us it's chocolate because it contains the butter, the cocoa butter. And the cocoa butter and then milk powder and sugar, and vanilla, of course, that's the white chocolate. We pay a tariff on white chocolate of 20% duty. So that is the reason why white chocolate is going to be more expensive too. And I didn't finish a story that I started earlier concerning the cocoa butter. So when we have, once we have the cocoa nibs, the vinegar will have some peel and some little pieces of cocoa bean. The leftover of that gets then pressed, and whatever oil we can squeeze out of that, that's the cocoa butter. And then whatever's left over, I would say, when we run the vinegar, I'm sure the big guys have a better result than me. My vinegar, from 1 pound of cocoa beans, the pure beans, 35% of the cocoa bean is going to be with the shells. So I'm losing about 35% from each pound. So to be efficient, those things we sift again, we separate them, and most of it is going to be cocoa bean. But we don't want, because some shell is going to be in there, we don't want that in the chocolate. That's going to get pressed. And then the leftover, after all the oil is out of it, gets ground up and it's going to be your cocoa powder. So when you make an ice cream, or if I eat ice cream anywhere, I know right away, because I know it's the taste of cocoa powder. It's never going to be the same. When I make ice cream, I take the 100% chocolate and I mix it. That's how I get the chocolate flavor.
Are you selling ice cream?
No, I have a little lab machine where every so often they beg me to make some ice cream, and I do it. Because before I was doing consulting work, and whatever came across, I did it, and one company wanted me to make ice cream, and that's how I got a little ice cream machine.
Any other questions before we turn off the video? Kevin,
Yes.
nice and loud.
You're doing a great job to focus on there being fair trade. What other initiatives are you and your associates bringing forth now that you haven't been able to get to yet, as far as to making it even fairer, perhaps?
Well, we always try to do more things, and one big key is that we do pay more to the farmers, and we know that it goes direct. The problem we have is that they allowed cocoa to be traded on the stock exchange, Chicago Stock Exchange. It's a huge mistake. Now all the big guys from Wall Street, they're making their big money. So, for example, I don't know the latest, I didn't look yesterday, but it's usually $2,500 per ton. But the farmer still doesn't get much. The the guy that makes the money now is the guy on Wall Street, and we, because their buyers, they compete against us. So the only way we can still get beans from the farmers is by paying them extra and the long-standing relationship. Stella Bernrein has been in business for 100 years plus, so we always knew what was where we're getting the stuff. So, you know, the problem is that once Wall Street get involved, everything goes downhill. But the farmer, they're gonna squeeze the farmer as much as they can. I mean, it's a fact of life, and it's disgusting. So we are paying personally the cocoa bean that we purchase for my own use. We are paying the farmer 170 pesos, which is Philippine pesos. The guys like
Other companies.
probably shouldn't mention it.
Other companies.
They are paying less than 65 pesos. So 1 peso is right now 48 pesos for $1. They're paying very, very little for the farmers. And, you know, so the farmers, when we come and we want cocoa, no problem. You know, they really are helpful. But we're competing against forces those days and that is one of the reasons, of course, our chocolate is more expensive. We do believe that our quality is better. We get top-notch beans, but it's not getting any easier.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. How did you wind up in Oxford?
That was my question.
I think we're gonna turn off the camera. And I can answer that off camera.
Thank you for listening to Who Picked Your Bunny?